Hello, and welcome to the Expanse. Today we're going to be looking at the concept of elemental duality, partially looking into what it is and slightly speculating about it in a broader term. Elemental duality is the notion that all elements in the World of Warcraft universe have a positive and negative trait attributed to them. This is important because the elements can give a very good indication as to where a character aligns on the cosmology, possibly showing their attunement to specific magics. It is also very interesting because, to take the word cunning for example, which is consistently reused in a lot of lore descriptions and whatnot in regards to the World of Warcraft lore, is the positive trait of the element of air. And so, to basically get into it, the positive and negative traits of the element of spirit is bravery for the positive and naivety for the negative. For fire, the positive trait is passion, while the negative trait is fury. For water, the positive trait is tranquility, the negative trait is indecisiveness. For earth, the positive trait is stubbornness. No, it's not stubbornness, that's the negative trait. The positive trait is stability. The negative trait is stubbornness. For decay, the positive trait is effectiveness, and the negative trait is ruthlessness. And for air, the positive trait is cunning, and the negative trait is madness. Now, what's important about these descriptions and traits of specific elements is where the elements align on the cosmology. Let's take a character like Sylvanas. She's relatively considered prideful, stubborn. She's definitely cunning though. She's a great military tactician. But at the same time, she's extremely ruthless and effective in what she does. These three perfectly align with earth, decay, and air, which, interestingly enough, sit next to each other on the cosmology. But not only that, they are all relatively close to death in regards to the cosmology. So, with that little bit of information given, I'm hoping you start to realize that certain characters and the way they act may not be as random as initially thought. Sylvanas is probably the most prudent example of seeing where she sits and how her character may act in future. Now, the really odd thing about elemental duality is that when it was introduced, it made a fair bit of sense. However, it also didn't, because it left out some very striking emotions that are very big mainstays in World of Warcraft. Take hope, fear, compassion, despair. The emotions that are generally attributed to the light and the void. Now, the assumption I've always made is that hope and despair and fear and compassion, for all intents and purposes, are similar to elemental duality, as in the light and the void are equal opposites. They live in tangent. They might work in tangent, but they definitely live in tangent. And for all intents and purposes, I assumed there had to be a connection between the light and the void. The problem is their emotional aspects or their emotional concepts never align in an equal opposite fashion similar to elemental duality, as in elemental duality has some very abstract ways of comparing emotions. However, with light and the void it was a lot more apparent there was a difference. And not only that, if you were to take hope, for example, you can hope for many things. And some of those things can be rather dubious hopes. And this is the same for fear. You can be fearful of something, or you can be fearful for something. So they're intermingled rather closely. However, after recently reading Before the Storm and coming to some really interesting revelations about the light, the categories of elemental duality that fit into the light and the void, as strange as this sounds, are emotions of time and timeless emotions. And I know, that concept sounds very, very weird. However, to basically break it down in the simplest way I can imagine, hope, compassion, all of the very positive traits, or what can be seen as positive traits that come from the light, are basically emotions that, as a child, as a very new being to the universe, you would accept, you would have an abundance of. So, for example, as a child, you have an abundance of compassion for people because you're not very cynical, you haven't really experienced the universe. And you have a lot of hope for things because, you dream big because you don't know what the world's like. However, with emotions like fear, despair, they're accumulated emotions. They're emotions that are gained over the course of time. As in fear, for example. Fear was basically an integral part of your survival instinct, and you don't know as a child how to survive. However, as time goes on, you start to learn what to fear, who to fear, etc., and that helps you live in the universe. Now, if this comprehension of elemental duality and this speculation surrounding elemental duality is correct, then we gain a very interesting insight into the light and the void. The first insight we gain is in regards to spirit and decay and their connections to the light and the void. Because it can be argued that the negative traits of spirit and decay derive from the very aspects of light and void. Ruthlessness being the offset of the aspects of the void, and naivety being the offset of the aspects from the light. Now, the reason why both of these would be considered negative traits, though, is because light and the void are still extremes of their respective magics. They may have created the universe, however, the light wishes to envelop everything, and the void wishes to consume everything, neither of which is really conducive to the physical universe. And so it's quite possible that spirit and decay are in physical universe versions of the light and the void. And so we get possibly a broadening of what the light and the void actually are, and possibly gaining an insight into two versions or two types of holy and or shadow magic. The second insight we gain into the void, if this speculation is correct, is the very reason why the light and the void do what they do. And this isn't the entities within the light and void, this is the light and void as a magic. And this basically ties directly into the concepts of timeless emotions and emotions of time. However, it also draws from what I consider to be Illidan's second most, if not most important one-liner.
I've traded my freedom for power before.
The prophecy must be fulfilled. Your old life has passed. The light will forge you a new one.
It is not yours to take.
The light will heal your scars.
I am my scars.
The light is your destiny.
My destiny is my own.
I am my scars. In my opinion, scars is an analogy for experiences. Illidan is where he is because of his experiences. He is who he is because of his experiences. And so, in turn, if he is who he is because of his scars, then it's because they are his experiences. And so, if this analogy makes sense and is valid, then why the light and the void do what they do becomes very apparent. Because as Zira said, the light tries to heal your scars. It tries to take away the pain of experience, basically. Take away the scars that normally would never heal. And where this is a noble goal, it is also a very blind one, as in to heal a person's spiritual scars is to basically take away who that person is. You are who you are because of your experiences. I am who I am because of my experiences, because of my scars. And if the light takes those away, then what is left is a husk that, for all intents and purposes, is an eternally benevolent being, but a being that does not live. A being that does not comprehend the joy of triumphing over your fears, of beating back despair, the joy of overcoming darkness, basically. On the flip side, the void would want to make you become your scars, would want you to embrace what has happened to you in the universe and live, basically. And where, once again, this is a noble goal, and it can even be considered a gift, as the old gods love to put it, but at the same time, it is also a very blind, one-sided gift. Because if you are to embrace fear, despair, all these emotions of time, and ignore timeless emotions altogether, then you quite literally become what the void embodies in World of Warcraft. You become a gaping wound in the universe that sucks everything in indiscriminately, and you twist it, you change it into yourself, or possibly a worse form of what it already was, devoid of hope, compassion, any type of quote-unquote positive emotion. At the end of the day, balance seems to be a very big part of the World of Warcraft cosmology, and where I'm certain we're going to be fighting entities corrupted by the light and make allies of creatures that can control the void, the true test of us as heroes and protagonists, as the main drivers of the World of Warcraft universe, our challenge is going to be the ability to choose, to understand there is evil and that there is not, to look at a situation and understand, to not over-empathize, but to also empathize, to look at a character like Sylvanas and ask ourselves, is what she's doing truly evil? Is she truly to an extreme on any spectrum that is irredeemable? Or in regards to characters like Anduin, is he truly balanced? Is he truly choosing the right path? Is he truly quote-unquote good? Or is he expressing another form of evil that is just as detrimental as spreading fear and despair within the universe? That will be our challenge. And honestly, I'm almost certain if we screw it up, we are going to screw over the universe so hard. With that ever so cheery warning, that's it for elemental duality. Do you think it's possible or plausible? Apt or incorrect? I'd really like to hear your opinions, so leave a comment. Or if you'd like to talk about lore or speculation more, I usually hang out in the Shinies and Lucky Juice Discord. Link will be down below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. I have a Twitter. Follow it if you'd like. And until next time, have a nice day.